The Grand Hall on Viridian Prime fell silent as the massive doors opened. Every diplomat, every ambassador, every representative from 100 different worlds stopped talking and turned to look. Queen Rivara of the Kethral Empire had arrived. She was impossible to miss. Standing 9 feet tall, her body was covered in scales that seemed to glow from within. Right now, those scales shimmered between deep green and dark red, shifting like oil on water. Her people, the Kethral, were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors. But they were also known for something else. They could feel emotions like other species felt physical touch. Every feeling in the room touched them, moved through them, sometimes overwhelmed them. The queen walked through the crowd and people stepped back. Some bowed, some looked away, a few trembled. She kept her face calm, but her scales betrayed her. They flickered darker with each step. Ambassador Hannah Park from Earth's delegation watched from the side of the room. She leaned toward her aide, a young woman named So-Min. "They're all afraid of her," Hannah whispered. So-Min nodded. "Can you blame them? Last year she threw Ambassador Krell across a room just by thinking at him. He insulted her dead parents," Hannah said quietly. "I would have done worse." The summit had been going on for 3 weeks. Representatives from every major power in the galaxy had gathered to discuss trade, borders, and peace. But everyone knew there was another reason they were all here. Queen Rivara needed to choose a mate. Her planet's council had made it very clear. She was the last of the royal bloodline. If she died without an heir, her empire would fall into chaos. So she had to choose someone. Soon. The problem was that no one seemed right. Over the past weeks, dozens of powerful males from different species had approached her. Some brought gifts. Some brought promises of military alliances. Some simply flexed their strength and expected her to be impressed. None of them saw her as a person. They saw a crown. They saw power. They saw a way to make themselves more important. And Queen Rivara felt all of it. Every greedy thought, every calculating plan, every moment when they looked at her and saw a thing to be won instead of someone to be known. It made her scales burn red with anger. The formal reception started. Music played, food was served. The queen stood near the center of the room, surrounded by suitors like sharks circling prey. Ambassador Velthar from the Proxian Alliance stepped forward. He was tall and covered in thick armor-like skin. His species was known for being warriors. "Queen Rivara," he said loudly so everyone could hear. "I have defeated the champions of 6 worlds. My fleet controls 12 systems. I would make you a strong mate." The queen looked at him with tired eyes. "I do not need someone to make me strong," she said. "I am already strong." Velthar's face twisted with anger. "You reject me? I am offering you greatness." "You are offering me yourself," the queen said, "and I am not interested." The ambassador stepped closer. His voice got louder. "You are too proud. Everyone knows you cannot control yourself. You are too emotional, too volatile. You will never find someone who can handle you." The queen's scales flashed from green to deep, burning crimson in an instant. The change was so sudden that people near her gasped and stepped back. "Handle me?" she repeated. Her voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire hall. "You think I need to be handled?" Velthar realized his mistake too late. "I did not mean—" But the queen's control had snapped. She did not move. She did not touch him. She did not need to. The Kethral were telepathic empaths. They could project emotions just as strongly as they could feel them. A wave of pure fury rolled out from Queen Rivara. It was not just anger. It was years of frustration, of being treated like a problem to be solved, of being touched by people who wanted to own her, of being so completely alone despite being surrounded by thousands. Ambassador Velthar felt it first. He stumbled backward, his eyes wide with terror. Then the wave hit everyone else in the room. 20 diplomats near the queen cried out and ran for the doors. Others fell to their knees. A few fainted. The queen stood in the center of the chaos, her scales burning red, her chest heaving. Then she turned and walked out of the hall. No one tried to stop her. 3 levels below the Grand Hall, In the maintenance tunnels that ran under the summit complex, Daehyun Kim felt something strange wash over him. He was working on a broken atmospheric regulator, his tools spread out on the floor around him. When the feeling hit him, he stopped and looked up. It was like standing in a wave of heat. Angry, yes, but underneath the anger was something else. Something that felt like pain, like loneliness. Daehyun had worked as a mechanic for 12 years. He had traveled to dozens of planets, fixed thousands of machines. He was good at his job, but he was not important. He was part of the support staff for Earth's delegation. He fixed things when they broke. He stayed out of the way. He did not attend fancy parties or talk to queens. He pressed his hand against the wall, feeling the emotional wave pass through. Whoever that was, he said to himself, they're really hurting. His communicator buzzed. It was Jiwoo, one of the human diplomats. Daehyun, did you feel that? Hard to miss, Daehyun said. What happened? The Kethril Queen just lost it at the reception. She sent half the room running in terror. The Galactic Council is meeting right now to talk about whether she's stable enough to rule. Daehyun frowned. He picked up his tools and started putting them back in his bag. That seems unfair. Unfair? Daehyun, she's dangerous. She's hurt, Daehyun said. There's a difference. He had dealt with plenty of dangerous people in his life. Back on his home colony, before the disaster that killed his parents, he had known miners who got angry when they were scared. He had known people who lashed out because they did not know how else to show pain. He recognized the feeling. Up in her private quarters, Queen Rivera sat alone in the dark. Her scales had faded to gray, the color of deep sadness. She had locked all the doors. She had dismissed all her guards. She wanted to be alone. The truth was simple and terrible. She would probably die alone. No one in the galaxy could understand her. No one wanted to understand her. They just wanted what she represented. She thought about her parents. They had loved each other deeply. She had grown up watching them, seeing how they shared everything, how they understood each other without words. She had always hoped to find that for herself one day. But that day would never come. Outside her window, the city lights of Viridian Prime sparkled like stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was probably deciding her fate. Let them decide, she thought. She was tired of fighting. Far below, Daehyun finished packing his tools. He thought about the wave of emotion he had felt. He thought about how lonely it had seemed under all that anger. He did not know yet that his path and the Queen's path were about to cross. He did not know that a simple act of kindness would change everything. He just knew that someone, somewhere in this huge complex, was suffering. And Daehyun had never been good at ignoring someone in pain. The night grew darker. The summit slept. And somewhere in the space between the grand halls and the maintenance tunnels, between queens and mechanics, between power and simplicity, a story was beginning. Queen Rivara stood in her private garden on the roof of the summit complex. The biodome stretched above her, clear walls showing the stars beyond. This was the only place where she felt any peace. The plants around her came from her homeworld. Some were rare, a few were the last of their kind. She had brought them from Kethril because they reminded her of better times, of home, of when she was not alone. Her scales had settled into dark blue, the color of sadness. She moved between the plants, touching their leaves gently. At least here, nothing wanted anything from her. The plants did not care that she was a queen. They just grew. She stopped at a midnight bloom, a flower that only opened once every 10 years. This one was close to blooming. Maybe in a few days. She would probably watch it alone. A small alarm chimed. Rivara looked up, confused. The biodome's climate control panel was flashing red. The temperature display showed numbers dropping quickly. No, she whispered. No, no, no. If the temperature kept falling, her plants would die. These irreplaceable pieces of her world would be gone forever. She rushed to the control panel and tried to fix it. But she was a queen, not an engineer. She pressed buttons, but nothing worked. The temperature kept dropping. She could call for help. But after what happened at the reception, would anyone come? They were all afraid of her now. More afraid than before. Down in the maintenance office, the emergency alert came through on every screen. Ji-woo looked at the message and went pale. The royal biodome is losing climate control. His supervisor, an older human woman named Minjai, checked her tablet. Send someone up to fix it. It's the queen's private garden, Ji-woo said. After what happened last night, no one will want to go near her. Minjai looked around the office. Every technician suddenly looked very busy. No one made eye contact with her. Someone has to go. Those plants are priceless. I'll go, a voice said from the back of the room. Everyone turned. Dae-hyun stood up from his workstation, wiping grease off his hands. Ji-woo grabbed his arm. Are you crazy? She could kill you with a thought. Dae-hyun picked up his toolkit. Then she won't need to worry about climate control anymore. He smiled, but Ji-woo did not smile back. I'm serious, Dae-hyun. She's dangerous. She's scared, Dae-hyun said. And her plants are dying. I'm going. He walked out before anyone could stop him. The elevator ride to the roof level seemed to take forever. Dae-hyun checked his tools. He had everything he might need. Climate control systems were simple, usually just a blown circuit or a stuck valve. He could fix it in 20 minutes. The elevator doors opened. The biodome entrance stood in front of him. Through the clear walls, he could see the queen. She was kneeling beside a group of small purple flowers, her scales flickering between blue and gray. She looked sad. She looked alone. Dae-hyun took a breath and walked inside. The queen's head snapped up when the door opened. Her scales immediately flashed to orange, the color of alarm. She stood quickly, all 9 feet of her towering over him. Who are you? She demanded. I ordered everyone to stay away. Dae-hyun held up his toolkit. I'm Dae-hyun. Maintenance. Your climate control is broken. I'm here to fix it. The queen stared at him. She was clearly trying to decide if he was brave or stupid. You're not afraid? Of what? You? Or the broken cooling system? Dae-hyun walked past her toward the control panel. Because honestly, the cooling system seems like the bigger problem right now. For a moment, the queen did not know what to say. People did not just walk past her. They did not ignore her presence. They especially did not make jokes about climate control being more important than her. Dae-hyun opened the control panel and started checking the connections. When did it start acting up? About 20 minutes ago, the queen said slowly. She watched him work, confused. You really are not afraid of me. Should I be? Dae-hyun pulled out a scanner and checked the circuits. I heard you got angry at some ambassador last night. From what Ji-woo told me, he deserved it. The queen's scales shifted slightly toward purple, showing her confusion. You think I was right to do what I did? I think if someone insults you to your face, they shouldn't be surprised when you get mad. Dae-hyun found the problem. A circuit board had blown out. He started disconnecting it. I'll need to replace this. Give me 15 minutes. He started humming while he worked. It was an old song his grandmother had taught him, a Korean folk melody about mountains and morning. The queen stood watching him. This human was strange. He treated her like she was normal, like she was just another person. When was the last time someone had done that? What is that sound you are making? She asked. Oh, just a song. Helps me think. Dae-hyun connected the new circuit board. My grandmother used to sing it. She said it brought good luck. Your grandmother. The queen's scales softened to violet, a calm color. Is she still alive? No, she died when I was 15. Colony disaster. Dae-hyun did not look up from his work. A lot of people died that day. Bad equipment. The regulators failed. That's why I became a mechanic. Figured someone should make sure things don't break. The queen felt something shift inside her. This human had lost people too. He understood loss. I am sorry, she said quietly. Thanks. Dae-hyun finished connecting the wires. There, that should do it. He pressed a button and the system hummed back to life. The temperature started rising again. The queen checked her plants. They would be okay. She felt relief wash through her. Thank you, she said. You saved them. Just doing my job. Dae-hyun packed up his tools. Then he noticed one of the flowers near him. It was opening slowly, its petals a deep midnight blue. Wow, that's beautiful. The queen looked at the flower, then at him. Her scales shifted to soft gold, a color she had not displayed in years. That is a midnight bloom. It only opens once every 10 years. Lucky timing, then. Dae-hyun smiled at her. Must be nice having a garden like this. A quiet place to think. It is the only place I feel peace, the queen admitted. She did not know why she was telling him this. Maybe because he did not feel like the others. His emotions did not push at her. They did not demand. They just were. Calm. Steady. Kind. I get that, Dae-hyun said. Everyone needs a quiet place. Mine is usually wherever I'm fixing something. When you're focused on making something work, the rest of the world kind of fades away. The queen sat down on a bench near the midnight bloom. You lost your grandmother and others. I lost my parents when I was young. I lost my home province in a war. These plants are all that remain. Dae-hyun looked at her. Really looked at her. Past the scales, past the height, past the crown. He saw someone who was alone. Someone who was tired. Someone who was protecting the last pieces of something precious. That must be hard, he said simply. Carrying all that weight. No one had said that to her before. They talked about her power, her responsibilities, her duties, but no one had ever acknowledged that it was heavy, that it was hard. The queen felt something in her chest tighten. Everyone expects me to be strong, to never break, to never feel too much. But I am Kethril. Feeling is what we do. I cannot be what they want. Maybe they're asking for the wrong thing, Dae-hyun said. He sat down on the bench, leaving space between them. Strength isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling everything and still getting up the next day. The queen's scales rippled with gold. That is what my mother used to say. They sat in silence for a while. It was comfortable, easy, the kind of silence that happens when two people understand something about each other without having to explain it. Finally, Dae-hyun stood up. I should go. But if you need the system checked again, just call maintenance. I'm usually around. Wait, the queen said. She did not know why she did not want him to leave. The plants need to be monitored. Climate control can be delicate. Perhaps you should return tomorrow. To check. Dae-hyun smiled. They both knew the system was fine now, but he nodded anyway. Sure. I can do that. As he walked to the door, the queen called out, Dae-hyun, thank you for not being afraid. He turned back. Thank you for not being scary, the queen laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised both of them. When was the last time she had laughed? Dae-hyun left the biodome. The queen watched him go. Her scales stayed gold for a long time after. News traveled fast in the summit. By evening, everyone knew that a human mechanic had entered the queen's private garden, that he had spoken to her, that he had left unharmed. Some people called it luck, others called it foolishness. Ji-woo cornered Dae-hyun in the cafeteria. What happened up there? I fixed the climate control. That's all? Dae-hyun thought about the queen sitting in her garden, surrounded by the last pieces of her home. He thought about the sadness in her voice when she talked about loss. Yeah, he said. That's all. But it was not all. Something had changed. A connection had been made. Two lonely people had recognized something in each other. And in a galaxy that ran on power and politics, that was the most dangerous thing of all. For the next week, Dae-hyun visited the biodome every day. At first, he really did check the climate control. Then he checked other systems, the irrigation, the air filters, things that did not really need checking. The queen knew what he was doing. He knew that she knew. Neither of them said anything about it. They talked while he worked. Small things at first. She asked about Earth. He asked about Kethril. Then bigger things. Philosophy. Loss. Hope. What it meant to be alone in a crowded galaxy. Dae-hyun showed her how to find joy in simple things, the way a circuit clicked into place, the taste of coffee from Earth, the sound of rain on the biodome glass. Things she had stopped noticing. The queen showed him how to sense the emotional currents in a room, how to feel what others felt. It was hard for humans. Their minds were not built for it. But Daehyun tried. Sometimes he could feel the edges of it. Shadows of emotions brushing against his thoughts. "You are getting better at this," the queen said one afternoon. They were sitting in the garden drinking tea. Her scales were calm violet. Most humans cannot sense anything at all. "I had a good teacher," Daehyun smiled. "Though I still can't do the thing where you project emotions. That seems advanced." "It is dangerous," the queen said quietly. "When I lose control, everyone around me feels it. That is why they fear me." "Or maybe they fear because they don't understand," Daehyun said. "Fear comes from not knowing. If they knew you like I do, they wouldn't be scared." The queen's scales flickered gold. That kept happening when he said things like that. She was starting to understand what the gold meant. She had not felt it for anyone in years. But their peaceful time was about to end. The Galactic Council had decided the queen needed to choose a mate. Soon, they sent a new group of suitors. Powerful males from important families. Men who saw the marriage as a political alliance. Prince Talvin of the Morvian dynasty was the worst. He was tall, covered in metallic scales, and very sure of himself. He spoke about the queen like she was a prize he had already won. "It is only a matter of time," he told other diplomats at a formal dinner. "She will see that I am the logical choice. The Morvian and Kethral empires together would be unstoppable." Ambassador Hana heard him and frowned. Somin leaned close to her. "Someone should warn the queen about him." "I think she already knows," Hana said. She had seen the way the queen's scales flashed orange whenever Talvin entered a room. That evening there was a formal dinner. Everyone important in the summit was there. The queen sat at the head table, her scales carefully neutral silver. She wore her formal robes and crown. She looked like every inch the powerful ruler. But Daehyun, watching from his seat at the far end of the hall with the other support staff, could see the tension in her shoulders. Could see the way her scales flickered dark at the edges. Jiwoo sat next to him. "Why are you watching her?" "Just making sure she's okay," Daehyun said. "You're worried about the queen? The most powerful person here?" "Power doesn't mean you can't hurt," Daehyun said quietly. Prince Talvin stood up. The room fell silent. "I have an announcement," he said loudly. His voice carried through the hall. "I have decided to claim Queen Rivara as my mate. Our empires will unite. It is the logical choice. The right choice." The queen's scales flashed red for just a moment. Then she controlled it, pushing it back to silver. "You do not claim me," she said. Her voice was cold. "I am not a thing to be claimed." "Do not be emotional," Talvin said. He walked toward her. "This is politics. Surely you understand that." "I understand that you do not listen," the queen said. She stood up. "I have refused you 3 times. My answer is no." Talvin's expression darkened. He grabbed her arm. "You will reconsider. You need this alliance." The queen looked at his hand on her arm. Her scales went pure crimson. "Release me." For a moment, Daehyun thought she would lose control. Thought she would send Talvin flying across the room. He started to stand, ready to do something. He did not know what. But the queen took a breath. Deep and slow, like Daehyun had taught her. She used the techniques they had practiced in the garden. Focus, control. She pulled her arm away calmly. "No," she said again. Then she walked out of the hall. Talvin stood there, humiliated. Everyone had seen the queen refuse him, reject him. "Walk away from him." His metallic scales darkened with anger. "You are broken," he shouted after her. His voice echoed through the formal hall. "A queen who cannot even control herself. You will die alone, unmated, and your empire will crumble." The words hung in the air like poison. Daehyun saw the queen stop, saw her shoulders tense. saw her scales flash between colors so fast they looked like chaos. Then he felt it. The wave. But this time it was not anger. It was worse. It was grief. Pure, overwhelming, crushing grief. The queen's control broke. Not with rage, but with pain. She had tried so hard, had worked so hard to stay calm, and still they saw her as broken, as wrong, as someone who would die alone. The emotional wave exploded outward. Every being in the hall felt it. The weight of being the last of her line. The loneliness of being touched only by people who wanted to use her. The desperate wish to just be seen as a person, to be known, to be loved. It was too much. Diplomats collapsed. Some started crying. Others ran for the doors. The pain was overwhelming. Security alarms went off. Guards rushed toward the queen, but they could not get close. Her grief was like a wall of fire. While everyone else ran away, Dae-hyun ran toward her. Ji-woo grabbed at him. "What are you doing? You'll die." Dae-hyun pulled free. "She needs help." He pushed through the crowd, against the wave of fleeing people. He felt the queen's pain hit him like a physical force. It was heavy. It hurt. But he kept going. He found her in a corridor outside the hall. She had collapsed against the wall. Her scales were flickering wildly between every color, like her body could not decide what to feel. Her telepathic scream filled the air around her. Guards stood at a distance, unable to approach. "Someone call for help," one shouted. Dae-hyun did not call for help. He did not know what help could do. He just dropped to his knees beside her and wrapped his arms around her. The queen was huge compared to him. 9 feet tall, powerful, covered in scales. He was a small human who fixed machines. But he held her anyway, as best as he could, his arms around her shoulders, his head against her side. He did not say anything, did not try to fix it, did not tell her to calm down or be strong or control herself. He just held her. The queen felt his presence through the storm of her emotions. This small, steady calm in the middle of her chaos. She felt his heartbeat. Slow. Regular. Not afraid. She felt his emotions. Not pity. Not fear. Just understanding. Just being there. Slowly, the telepathic storm began to fade. Her scales stopped flickering. They settled into soft silver with threads of gold. She realized she was clinging to him, her hands gripping his jacket, her face buried against his shoulder. And he was still there, still holding her, still calm. "I am sorry," she whispered. Her voice was broken. "I am so sorry." "You don't have to be sorry," Dae-hyun said quietly. "Not for feeling, not for hurting. I almost killed you. I almost killed everyone." "But you didn't." He did not let go. "You just needed someone to hold you while you fell apart. That's okay. Everyone needs that sometimes." The queen had not been held in years, had not felt safe enough to let someone this close. But here was this human, this mechanic, holding her like she was something precious, like she was not a monster. Security footage of the moment was already spreading through the summit. Someone had captured it. The image of the small human holding the huge alien queen, his arms around her clinging to him. Two beings who should have been impossible together, finding comfort in each other. The queen's scales stayed gold where they touched him. Guards finally approached carefully. "Your Majesty, are you harmed?" The queen pulled back from Dae-hyun slowly. She looked at him. His face was wet with tears. Not his own. Hers. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for not running." "I'll never run from you," Dae-hyun said. He meant it. Medical staff wanted to check her. Diplomats wanted to talk to her. But the queen only cared about one thing. "Make sure Dae-hyun is safe," she ordered her guards. "If anyone tries to harm him or blame him, you will answer to me." She stood up, helping Dae-hyun to his feet. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Something had changed. Something neither of them had words for yet. Then the queen had to go deal with the chaos. Had to face the council. Had to be the queen again. But she carried the feeling of being held with her. The memory of someone who had not run away. In that corridor, Dae-hyun sat for a while after she left. Ji-woo found him there. "Are you okay?" Ji-woo asked. Dae-hyun nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think so. That was the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen." "Maybe both," Dae-hyun said. He thought about the queen's scales turning gold, about the way she had held on to him like he was the only solid thing in a storm. "Ji-woo, I think I'm in trouble." "You? She's the one who lost control." "No," Dae-hyun said quietly. "I mean, I think I'm falling for her." Ji-woo stared at him. "The queen? You're falling for the queen?" Dae-hyun put his head in his hands. "I know. It's impossible. It's stupid. What could a mechanic offer a queen?" But his heart did not care about impossible. It had already decided. The image spread across the galaxy in hours. Every news service showed it. The small human holding the powerful alien queen. Some called Dae-hyun a hero. Others said he was manipulating her. Prince Talvin demanded he be arrested for assaulting a royal. Ambassador Hana called an emergency meeting with the human delegation. Dae-hyun sat in a chair, still in his work clothes, while diplomats argued about him like he was not there. "We need to protect him," Hana said. "Talvin has powerful allies." "We need to distance ourselves," another diplomat argued. "This could cause a political incident." "This already is a political incident," someone else shouted. Dae-hyun just sat quietly. He was tired. The emotional weight of what had happened was starting to hit him. He had felt the queen's pain. Really felt it. It had been like drowning. The meeting was interrupted when a message arrived from the queen herself. She would be addressing the Galactic Council in 1 hour. Everyone was required to attend. The Grand Council chamber was packed. Every diplomat, every representative, every important person in the summit crowded in. At the front of the room, the council members sat at a high table. They looked severe. Queen Rivara entered the chamber. She wore her full royal robes. Her crown caught the light. Her scales were calm silver, perfectly controlled. She looked like she could face down an army. But Dae-hyun, sitting in the back with the other support staff, saw the slight flicker of gold at the edges of her scales. She was nervous. The council leader, an ancient being called Elder Mos, spoke first. "Queen Rivara, we are concerned about yesterday's incident, the loss of control, the danger to others. Some members believe you are not stable enough to rule." The queen stood tall. "I understand your concerns, but I will not apologize for feeling. My people are empaths. Emotion is part of who we are. I cannot change that. I will not change that. But you endanger others. I endanger others because you push me beyond my limits," the queen said. Her voice was strong. "For weeks, I have been treated like property, like a prize to be won. I have been insulted, grabbed, and told I am broken for having emotions. Any being would break under that." Murmurs ran through the chamber. "Yesterday, I broke. Yes. But I did not hurt anyone. I did not lash out with violence. I simply felt too much, and everyone felt it with me. If that makes me unfit to rule, then perhaps the problem is not with me. Perhaps the problem is with a galaxy that fears emotion." Elder Moss leaned forward. "And what of the human? The mechanic who approached you?" The queen's scales flickered gold for a moment. "Dae-hyun saved me. While everyone else ran, he stayed. He offered comfort without asking for anything in return. He saw me as a person, not as a queen. I am grateful to him. Some say he is manipulating you." "Those people are fools," the queen said flatly. "Dae-hyun has no political ambitions. He fixes machines. He drinks coffee. He hums when he works. He is the only person in this entire summit who has treated me with simple kindness." She paused. "I am withdrawing from the courting process. I will not be claimed, purchased, or used for political gain. When and if I choose a mate, it will be someone who sees me. Just me. Not my crown, not my empire, not my power, just me." The chamber erupted. Some species cheered, others shouted objections. It took Elder Most several minutes to restore order. When the meeting finally ended, Dae-hyun tried to slip out quietly. But the queen's voice stopped him. Dae-hyun, please stay. Everyone turned to look. The mechanic in work clothes. The queen in royal robes. They walked toward each other through the crowded room. Are you okay? Dae-hyun asked quietly. The queen almost laughed. Everyone else asked if she was in control, if she was stable. Only Dae-hyun asked if she was okay. I am better now, she said. Thank you for what you did yesterday. I didn't do anything special. You did everything, she said. Her scales glowed soft gold. Then she seemed to remember where they were, all the eyes watching. I would like to invite you to the royal gardens, to teach me more about human culture, if you are willing. It was a formal invitation, but there was hope in her voice, nervousness. Dae-hyun smiled. I'd like that. Over the next few days, they spent hours together. The queen learned about Earth, about Korean food. Dae-hyun made her kimchi stew using ingredients from the station's kitchen. The spice made her scales shimmer orange with delight. This burns, but I love it, she said, eating more. He showed her Earth movies. Comedy made her laugh in a way that surprised both of them. She had a loud, bright laugh. It filled the biodome. She taught him Kethral meditation, ways to find calm in chaos, ways to feel emotions without being overwhelmed by them. They watched the stars together, talked about everything and nothing. Dae-hyun told her about his grandmother, about the songs she sang. The queen told him about her parents, about what it felt like to be the last one left. So-min noticed the change. She pulled Dae-hyun aside one day. Her scales turn gold whenever you enter a room. What does that mean? So-min, who had studied xenobiology, gave him a serious look. In Kethral culture, scales only turn that shade of gold for deep affection. For potential mates, Dae-hyun, I think she has feelings for you. Dae-hyun's heart jumped. That's impossible. She's a queen. I'm just a mechanic. Love doesn't care about job titles, So-min said gently. The question is, how do you feel about her? Dae-hyun thought about the way the queen laughed at jokes, how she hummed the Korean folk song he had taught her while she tended her plants, how her scales went soft silver when they talked, how safe he felt with her, despite her being 9 feet tall and powerful enough to kill with a thought. I think I'm in love with her, he admitted. So-min smiled. Then maybe you should tell her. But before Dae-hyun could figure out how to tell a queen he loved her, politics got in the way. Prince Talvin had not forgotten his humiliation. He formed a group of allies who were angry about the queen's rejection. They claimed Dae-hyun was using human mind tricks to control her, that humans had secret telepathic powers they were hiding. They demanded proof. They challenged Dae-hyun to participate in a Kethral ritual called the Soul Walk. 2 beings would share their deepest memories and emotions through telepathic connection. Humans had never successfully completed it. The emotional intensity was too much. If he can truly connect with the queen, Talvin said, then let him prove it. The council agreed. It would be a public demonstration. Ji-woo grabbed Dae-hyun when he heard. You can't do this. So-min says the Soul Walk can damage human minds. It's too much input. I have to, Dae-hyun said. If I don't, they'll keep saying I'm manipulating her. They'll keep using it as a reason she's unfit to rule. The queen came to see him the night before the ritual. Her scales were dark blue with worry. Please do not do this. I cannot bear the thought of hurting you. You won't hurt me, Dae-hyun said. He took her hand, his small human hand in her larger one. I trust you. But the Soul Walk shows everything. You will feel all my pain, all my fear, all my loneliness. It is too much for most beings. Then I'll feel it, Dae-hyun said. And I'll still be here after, I promise. The queen's scales flickered between blue and gold. Why? Why would you risk this for me? Dae-hyun looked at her. Really looked at her. He thought about saying something clever, something safe. But this was not the time for safe. Because I love you, he said simply. Not because you're a queen, not because you're powerful, just because you're you. The queen's scales flashed brilliant gold. She stared at him. You love me? Yeah, I know it's crazy. I know I'm just a mechanic and you're royalty and we're different species and she kissed him. Or the Kethril version of a kiss. She pressed her forehead to his, her scales glowing warm where they touched. In her culture, it was the deepest sign of affection. When she pulled back, her scales were pure gold. I love you too, she whispered. I have been afraid to say it, afraid to hope. But I love you, Daehyun Kim. They held each other in the garden, under the stars, under the midnight blooms. Two impossible beings who had found each other against all odds. Tomorrow, the queen said, we will show them. We will show the entire galaxy what real connection looks like. Daehyun nodded. He was scared, but he was also sure of what he felt, sure of what they had. The next day would change everything. News of the Soul Walk Challenge spread across the galaxy. Every major network would broadcast it. Billions of beings would watch a human mechanic try to connect with an alien queen. Bets were being placed. Would he survive? Would he run? Would he prove the connection was real? In his small quarters, Daehyun tried to sleep. Failed. Got up and drank coffee. Thought about everything that had led to this moment. A broken climate control system, a lonely queen, a simple hug. Sometimes the biggest changes came from the smallest moments. He looked out at the stars and thought about his grandmother, about her folk songs, about the way she always said that love was the bravest thing a person could do. Tomorrow, he would be very brave. The grand hall was filled to capacity, every seat taken. Cameras from 100 different worlds pointed at the center of the room where a raised platform waited. The soul walk would happen there, in front of everyone. Daehyun stood in a waiting room. His hands shook slightly. Jiwoo and So-min were with him. You don't have to do this, Jiwoo said for the 10th time. Yes, I do, Daehyun said. He was scared, but he was also sure. So-min checked her medical scanner. Your heart rate is elevated. That's normal. Try to stay calm once the connection begins. If it becomes too much, the medical team will pull you out. I won't need to be pulled out, Daehyun said. Ambassador Hana entered the room. She looked worried, but proud. The queen asked me to give you this. She handed him a small flower, a midnight bloom from the royal garden. She says it's for courage. Daehyun held the flower carefully. It was the one that had opened the first day he met her, the one he had called beautiful. Time to go, Hana said gently. The walk to the platform felt long. Every eye in the hall followed him. He heard whispers, some hopeful, some cruel. He ignored them all. Queen Rivara was already on the platform. She wore simple robes today. No crown. Her scales were silver with threads of gold. When she saw him, the gold grew brighter. Elder Mose explained the rules to the audience. The Soul Walk is a sacred Kethril ritual. Two beings will share their deepest memories and emotions. There is no hiding in the Soul Walk, no lies, only truth. If the connection is false, it will be revealed. If it is real, we will all know. Prince Talavin watched from the front row. His expression was smug. He did not believe a human could survive this. Daehyun stepped onto the platform. He and the queen faced each other. Are you ready? She asked softly. Only he could hear. As I'll ever be, he said. He tried to smile, but his face felt tight. Listen to me, the queen said. She took his hands. When the connection opens, you will feel everything I have ever felt. It will be overwhelming. But remember that I will feel everything you have felt too. We will share this. You will not be alone. Daehyun nodded. Together then. Together, she agreed. The queen raised her hands to either side of his head. Her palms were warm. Her scales began to glow, starting at her fingers and spreading up her arms. White light. Pure openness. The telepathic link opened. It was like being hit by a wave. No, like being the wave. Daehyun felt himself pulled into the queen's mind, her memories, her emotions, everything at once. He felt her childhood, the weight of the crown placed on her head at 12 years old. Too young, too soon. Her parents had just died. She was crying but had to stop. Queens don't cry in public. He felt decades of loneliness. Being connected to millions of minds through telepathy but truly known by none. Every emotion in her empire touched her. She felt their joys and their pains, but no one felt hers. He felt every suitor who had approached her, their greed, their ambition, their desire to own her, control her, use her, never to know her, the way their emotions pushed at her like hands grabbing. How it made her feel like a thing, like property. He felt her in the garden that first day, watching her plants die, feeling like the last piece of her home was slipping away. Then a human had walked in, humming a folk song, and had just fixed things, had just been kind. The pain was immense, crushing. Dae-hyun wanted to pull away, but he held on. This was what she lived with every day. All of this. And she was still standing. In the audience, people gasped. Some were crying. The telepathic connection was so strong that emotions were bleeding into the room. Everyone could feel edges of what Dae-hyun was experiencing. But then something unexpected happened. The connection flowed the other way, deeper than it usually did in soul walks. The queen began experiencing Dae-hyun's memories with the same intensity. She felt his childhood on the colony. Poor, but happy. His parents worked hard. His grandmother sang songs and told stories. They had little money but much love. She felt the disaster. The day the equipment failed. The regulators his parents had been told to fix, but the company cut corners. Did not replace what needed replacing. She felt him digging through rubble, finding them, losing them. She felt his decision to become a mechanic, to fix things, to make sure what happened to his family did not happen to others. Such a simple goal, such a pure goal. She felt his loneliness, working on dozens of worlds, always the support staff. Always invisible, important but not valued, competent but not celebrated. He had been alone too, different from her but the same. And then she felt the moment he first saw her. Not as a queen, as someone who needed help. She felt him climb the elevator to her garden, not afraid of her, just wanting to fix what was broken. The climate control. And maybe the person too. She felt every conversation they had shared. How he genuinely listened. How he saw her as a person. She felt the moment he realized he was falling in love with her. The fear that came with it. What could a mechanic offer a queen? But also the certainty. He loved her. That was simple. True. Real. In the hall, Prince Talavan stood up. Sit down, Elder Moss commanded. Do not interrupt the walk. The queen's scales exploded with light. Brilliant, radiant gold. The color was so bright it lit up the entire hall. Gasps echoed through the room. In Kethril culture, that color had a name. Soul gold. It only happened once in a Kethril's lifetime. Only for one being. It meant soul recognition. Perfect understanding. True love. The connection was still open. Dae-hyun and the queen stood together, their minds intertwined, experiencing each other's entire lives. The pain, the joy, the loneliness, the hope, all of it shared, all of it understood. When the connection finally closed, they both stumbled. Medical staff rushed forward, but the queen waved them away. She was crying, her scales still brilliant gold. She looked at Dae-hyun, and he looked at her, and they both knew. Everything. They knew each other completely. The hall was silent, waiting. The queen spoke, her voice carrying both telepathically and through the air. I see you, Dae-hyun Kim. I see every memory, every pain, every hope, every moment that made you who you are, and you see me, truly see me. She turned to face the crowd. You wanted proof? Here is your proof. This human has shown more courage in one moment than most of you have shown in your entire lives. He walked into my pain and did not flinch. He held me when I broke and did not run. He loves me not for what I am, but for who I am. Then she did something that shocked the galaxy. She knelt. A 9-foot Kethril queen lowered herself to the height of a human mechanic. "I do not ask you as a queen asks a consort," she said. Her scales glowed pure soul gold. "I ask you as Rivera asks Daehyun. Will you stand beside me? Not behind me, not beneath me. Beside me, as my equal. As my mate, as the one who sees me." The hall erupted in noise, but Daehyun only heard his own heartbeat. He looked at this amazing being who had just shared everything with him, who had felt his entire life and still wanted him. He smiled. That simple, genuine smile. "I was never anywhere else." He took her hands, helped her stand. The size difference should have been comical, but no one was laughing. Some were cheering, some were crying, some sat in stunned silence. Ambassador Hana stood. The human delegation recognizes this union. One by one, other species stood. Some because they believed in it. Some because they feared offending the queen. But it did not matter. The tide had turned. Prince Talvin sat frozen. His coalition had crumbled. Their attempt to humiliate Daehyun had instead revealed something beautiful. Something real. He finally stood and walked out. No one tried to stop him. Elder Moss rose. "In my 300 years on this council, I have never seen a soul walk like this. The connection was perfect, complete. No falsehood could survive what we witnessed." He bowed to them both. The council recognizes this union. The hall erupted in applause. Cameras captured everything. The image of the queen and the mechanic, hands joined, scales glowing gold, would become famous across the galaxy. But for them, the hall faded away. They only saw each other. "I love you," the queen said. "I know you now as I know myself. And I love you." "I love you too," Daehyun said. "All of you. The queen, the person, the warrior, the gardener, all of it." They stayed in each other's arms while the galaxy celebrated around them. 3 months later, the royal garden bloomed with flowers from both their worlds. Earth roses grew next to Kethril midnight blooms. Korean cherry blossoms shared space with crystalline ferns. Daehyun still worked as a mechanic. He insisted on it. "Someone has to make sure things don't break," he said. But now he had an office next to the Queen's council chamber, close enough to visit her between meetings. The Queen had changed too. She was calmer, happier. Her scales spent most of their time in gold or peaceful silver. Her people noticed. Her empire noticed. She ruled with strength but also with compassion. She felt everything her people felt, but now she had someone to share that weight with. They stood in the garden one evening, watching the sunset through the biodome, her hand in his head resting against her side. "The galaxy is still talking about us," she said. "The queen and the mechanic. They make up stories about how we met." "Let them talk," Daehyun said. "We know the truth. You had a broken climate control system. I fixed it." She laughed, that bright, wonderful laugh. "You fixed much more than that." "So did you," he said. He looked up at her. "You taught me that I was worth more than I thought. That a mechanic could stand beside a queen. And you taught me that power is not what makes someone valuable. That the person who runs toward pain instead of away from it is the bravest person in the room." They kissed. The Kethril way. Foreheads pressed together. Scales glowing warm. In the distance, stars began to appear. Ships traveled between worlds. Empires rose and fell. But here, in this garden, two beings had found something rare. Understanding, acceptance, love. A human had hugged an alien queen when everyone else had fled. And in that simple act, everything had changed. They had each been alone in a crowded galaxy. Now they were together. And that made all the difference. The midnight blooms opened around them. Their scent filled the air. Somewhere, someone was probably making a dramatic story about the queen and the mechanic. About destiny and fate. But the truth was simpler and more beautiful. A broken climate control system. A lonely queen. A kind human. A hug. Sometimes the greatest love stories begin with the smallest moments. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay when everyone else runs away. They stood in the garden as night fell. Two beings from different worlds, different sizes, different everything, but perfectly matched where it mattered. In their hearts, in their souls, in their understanding of each other. The galaxy had wanted proof of their love. They had seen it in the Soul Walk, but Daehyun and Rivara did not need proof. They had never needed proof. They had always known. From the first hum of a folk song, from the first time scales turned gold, from the moment a human saw an alien queen not as terrifying, but as someone who was hurting. And now they would face the future together. A mechanic and a queen. A human and a Kethril. Two people who had taught each other that love was not about status or power. It was about being seen, being known, being held when you fall apart, and having someone who stays, always.